Hi, my name is Soumya. I'm a software developer at Red Hat. Today I'm going to talk about how we can replicate and migrate data from Ceph RGW server to public cloud. So first I'll discuss what Ceph is and what is its object gateway, and what are the challenges one faces while moving data in a hybrid cloud infrastructure, and how Ceph addresses the same by integrating with public cloud. So Ceph is a open source distributed scalable storage solution. So the key features of Ceph is it can work on any commodity hardware, so there is no vendor lock-in, and it is highly scalable. Like thousands of clients can connect to it and access petabytes or exabytes of data at a time. And it is suitable for many of the modern workloads like cloud infrastructure, data analytics, and backup and restore. So Ceph exposes a library called Librados. It exposes a unified system through this library, using which one can access Ceph storage as either file store or a block store or a object store. So the key storage layer here is called RADOS, which stands for a Reliable Autonomous Distributed Object Store. It is responsible for storing data at the backend, and it has got the latest set of all storage capabilities like redistribution of data, self-healing, self-management, and replication. Everything is done dynamically. So Ceph Object Gateway or Rados Gateway, or simply put RGW server, it provides object storage interface to the Ceph cluster. So using this server, one can use Ceph cluster as a object store. So it provides a RESTful HTTP API to store the objects and their metadata. It has got support for two HTTP protocols like Civet Web and Beast. And it interacts with the underlying Ceph cluster using the library called Librados. So currently it is compatible with both S3 and OpenStack Swift, and it provides unified namespace for these two, which means that S3 users, the buckets or objects created by S3 users can be accessed by OpenStack Swift users and vice versa, provided the users have write permissions. So it provides a flat namespace, unlike a file system hierarchy. And the objects are immutable. That means once the objects are created, they cannot be modified, but can be recreated. For example, video files or audio files. So also it got support of most of the S3 features like bucket lifecycle policies, multi-part upload, object encryption, etc. So moving on, as most of you are aware, hybrid cloud unifies public cloud, private cloud, and on-premises infrastructure to create single, unified, and flexible distributed computing environment for IT mostly. So so one of the key advantages of using hybrid cloud is one can use private cloud network to store sensitive data, and which it can be easily accessible when needed with tight security. At the same time, leveraging the advantages of public cloud as a cheaper alternative to it. So it is very efficient when compared to private cloud or public cloud network alone. But the biggest challenge here is moment of data. Since the workloads or applications have to be portable across these entities like private or public, along with them, even the data needs to be moved. So sometimes the moment of data becomes challenging, especially if it's a big data. So first we'll look through a couple of solutions which most of the enterprises deploy to move the data within a hybrid cloud. So one of the common use cases is to use the third-party applications like rsync or rclone or S3 command or AWS CLI if it's object store. So these tools, they read the data from the on-prem cluster and move it to public cloud or vice versa. So it works fine, but there are many challenges here. It requires a lot of manual work, like the admin needs to write wrapper scripts to actually to automate this to automate this copy, and also there have to be external tools used to monitor and detect if there are any errors, because as such these CLI, they won't have any monitoring or error detection abilities. Moreover, they do not support incremental synchronization. Like if there is an error while uploading an object, the object needs to be re-uploaded. So this can hugely impact both cost and time. So another approach which many of the enterprises are looking forward to is to use multi-cloud gateway service. So simply put, MCG service. So for example, Nuba or Senko. So the MCG service connects all the entities in a hybrid cloud, like on-prem or multiple cloud providers. So the way it works is clients directly connect to MCG service, and MCG is responsible for replicating the data or distributing the data among these hybrid cloud entities based on the policy set. So since the clients connect directly to MCG service, they are limited by the features provided those multi-cloud gateway providers. And sometimes they may not be able to fully leverage the capabilities of the underlying servers, which in this case are RGW server. Also, since there are multiple layers involved, the data is processed at multiple layers, both by MCG and also the backend storage, either RGW or public cloud providers. So there is a chance of data redundancy and also management overhead. Also, since there are multiple entities involved, since it's a complex system, in case of any errors, it is quite often challenging to debug the same. So to overcome some of the challenges, what if both on-prem and public cloud can collaborate with each other and move data directly? So that is what Ceph RGW is trying to do by integrating with public cloud, directly using its cloud sync and cloud transition features, which are used for data replication and migration respectively. So the key advantages here is they are full-fledged service, so they are secure, reliable, efficient, and the data transfers are very fast. So also they can connect to, or they can transfer the data to multiple endpoints at a time, and there is a chance of doing incremental transfer if needed. And all the objects are processed parallelly, so the data transfer is very fast. And since it's within the Ceph, the Ceph tools, the existing Ceph tools can be used to monitor the status and detect if there are any errors. Moving on, let's look how these features work and what are the key takeaways. So CloudSync is a sync module. It is built on top of multi-site framework. For those who are not aware, Ceph RGW uses multi-site framework to sync data across the zones. So the zone here is a set of RGW server and can be mapped to a geographical location hypothetically. So suppose some data is written within a zone to Rados gateway servers within a zone, then those servers replicate the data across all other zones configured. So that is done using multi-site framework, and the data sync happens asynchronously, so it is eventually consistent. So sync module is built on top of the same framework, and using sync module, one can actually replicate the data even outside the Ceph cluster. So in this case, public cloud. So the cloud sync is a sync module. It syncs data to remote cloud service using the S3 REST APIs right now. So that's the reason currently this feature is limited to only S3 cloud providers, but we do have plans to support multiple other cloud providers in near future. So it is unidirectional, that is the data is replicated from Ceph RGW to public cloud, but not vice versa at the moment. Also, not just, so the sync is possible at zone level, entire zone level, and also one can configure a particular set of buckets to be synced to S3 cloud. It need not be entire zone using multi-site sync policy feature. Since it's built on top of multi-site framework, the configuration is similar to multi-site configuration. So one needs to create a target zone with the tier type specified as cloud. And all the cloud parameters like endpoint, its access key, secret key have to be specified as gconfig parameters. So these are the key config parameters needed. So the mandatory parameters are the connection details, of course, the endpoint, the cloud endpoint URL, access key, and secret key. And the optional parameters are ACLs, which are used to map the Ceph RGW users to specific cloud destination users. And even the target path is configurable, using which one can specify to what path in cloud endpoint the objects need to be replicated to. So moving on, the cloud transition is similar to Cloud Sync module in the sense it uses the same S3 REST APIs to migrate the data to public cloud. So that way, it is currently limited to only S3 cloud providers. So the way it works is it uses S3 lifecycle configuration and storage classes. For those who are not aware, so S3 lifecycle configuration provides a set of rules using which in the S3 user can migrate objects from one storage class to another storage class. Also, they can the another action one can define is to expire the data or the object and delete it after a certain period using the same lifecycle configuration rules. So here, since the objects are moved within the storage classes, so those storage classes need to be configured on the server. Here in this case is Ceph RGW. So the way cloud transition works is one needs to associate a public cloud or the cloud endpoint to a storage class. So while configuring a storage class on Ceph RGW, they need to specify that this particular storage class belongs to a cloud endpoint. So when a transition rules are applied on the objects, if the Ceph RGW server detects that it's a cloud storage class, then it migrates the data to public cloud instead of moving within the server, within the storage cluster. So it's a unidirectional, that is once the object is migrated to cloud, it's not restored back at the moment, but we do plan to support the restore operation in the near future. And but however, since it's a migration, once the object is migrated to cloud, the source object is by default deleted on the Ceph RGW Ceph cluster. But however, we can retain its metadata or head object of the source object as well by configuring an option. It is an upcoming feature and is targeted to Ceph Upstream Pacific release. As I mentioned, so to configure, to use this feature while configuring storage class, one need to specify that it's a tier type Cloud S3. So the reason it's a Cloud S3 tier type is because we currently support only S3 cloud providers. And the other key parameters like cloud endpoint details, access key, secret key can be configured as tier config parameters. So those who are familiar with Ceph configuration, you may be aware that once we create a storage class within Ceph RGW, we need to associate a data pool with it so that the cluster knows where to store the data if the object is created for that particular storage class. But for these cloud storage classes, since the data is stored in external tier, which is not within Ceph cluster, we do not need to specify or configure any data pool for these storage classes. So once this storage class is created, for example, here cloud tier, it can be used as any other regular storage class in the S3 transition rules. Another thing to note here is that this cloud storage class should be specified last among all the storage classes the object transitions to. That is the reason being, since it's a unidirectional right now, once the object is migrated to public cloud, it cannot be read back by the Ceph RGW server and moved to other storage class. So that's the reason it needs to be specified last among all the storage classes the object transitions to. Similar to Cloud Sync feature, here even for cloud transition, these are the key config parameters one need to configure. So the endpoint URL, access key, and secret key are mandatory. Also, there are optional parameters like ACLs, target path, and even target storage class can be specified. And retain head object is the option which when enabled, the head object or the metadata of the source object is retained within the Ceph cluster even after migrating the object to the cloud. So these are the two features like Cloud Sync and Cloud Transition, using which we can directly replicate or migrate the data from Ceph RGW server to external cloud, a public cloud, without any need of any third-party application in the middle. So, but they have got certain limitations at the moment, like in the sense they are unidirectional. The data movement is done only from Ceph cluster to public cloud, but not vice versa. And they are compatible with only S3 cloud providers. Also, once the transition, the object cannot be read or transitioned back by the Ceph RGW server at the moment. In addition, when we replicate the data, there is expectation that the object M time and E tag will be intact even after the replication on the target zone. But due to REST API, S3 REST API limitations, we cannot have same M time or E tag even on the public cloud. So after Cloud Sync migrates, replicates the data, it store the M time and E tag of the object gets modified on the public cloud. But however, the source object, which is on the Ceph RGW server, its M time and E tag get stored as the external metadata attributes or exatters on the destination cloud object. So one can read the same by issuing get data request on the destination cloud object. So these are the current, these were the limitations of these two features at the moment, but we are planning to improve on it. So for example, like we would like to support this replication and transition to multiple cloud providers like Azure, Google Cloud. And also we like to support federation between these RGW and cloud services. So by federation, what I mean is, suppose there are multiple RGW users created and role specified or bucket policies configured on the RGW side. We would like to be able to apply the same or map the same into the cloud services, cloud endpoint as well. Also, once the object transition to cloud, we would like to add the ability to read through the objects, to issue the read request to cloud, get the data, and send it to the RGW user. If not, at least would like to send a pre-signed redirect URL to its end user, so that the user directly can use that URL and redirect the get request to the cloud endpoint. Also, there is an operation supported in S3 called restore object, which can be used to restore these objects from the cloud back to Ceph RGW server. So this is something we would like to support in the near future. So this brings end to my current talk. Thanks for listening.